never thought I'd hold you again. See, I never thought I'd feel like this tonight. Oh, it's alright. I never thought I'd hold you again. See, I never thought I'd feel like this tonight. Oh, it's alright. But you can't do the same things, baby. You can choose what you want to do, baby. You can't do the same thing, baby. And maybe we can work it out this time. One last time. Oh, yeah. We ran into each other again. We're different people, though we all used to be friends. Hope you're not gonna burn me again. I hope this won't leave me alone in the end. Thank you. Can you feel my love? It's coming after you. It's broken down. Oh, but God is true. And do you feel my heart? It scares me either way. Been waiting so long. Oh, to feel this way. Ooh, now I've been waiting all my life, oh, to find your love. And I've been wanting all your love for a long time. But I'm not turning back. I've wanted it too long. I love the way you smile. Oh, and the way we touch. Ooh, now. And I've been waiting all my life, oh, to find your love. And I've been wanting all your love for a long time. Ooh, to find your love. it's broken down. Oh, but God, it's true. Do you feel my heart? It scares me the way I'm waiting so long to finally feel this way. I've got a baby who likes to shoot ski. When there's dip in his mouth, I love kissing his cheek. Takes me to the lake, throws me on the bed, makes me think all of my troubles are dead. Oh baby, hey, now be my babe. Country love, I can't imagine this on this cool night. I'm surrounded with his warm kiss. Country love, I see a hill in the distance. It always makes me feel like home. Or the smell of bacon in the kitchen. Or when the Sunday sun rises up. Wahoo. Well, Tennessee is home, and I'm coming home. A patch of grass in the city, it makes me think of fields so green. Or a sip of shine with the daffodils blooming and the lusty smell of a Tennessee spring. Wahoo. No matter where I roam, well, Tennessee is home, and I'm coming home. Well, Tennessee is my home, and I'm coming home. Thank you. just waking up in the light of day, and clouds all around, and I'm coming down from your love. Well, I pissed you off, you made me cry. We're living in this maze of daily trying to survive, and it's for your love. Oh, oh, for your love. Oh, oh, your foolish heart, it's so hard to tell everything you're thinking when you're lying in your hell, and it's for your love. But you try so hard, and you stand so tall, but everyone around you knows it's your weakest fault. Is it worth your love? Oh, no. Is it worth your love? Oh, oh. And I know it's hard and it doesn't feel good sometimes. We're doing this dance around what you're feeling inside. So why don't you show me more? Why don't you do what you say? It's not that I can trust you when you turn and run away. Is it worth your love? Oh, oh. Is it worth your love? Oh, oh. See, I'm wondering why it's so hard right now. You won't let me in and you push me out. Now did you give a dang about me? Do you wanna do all of the simple things that lovers do? See, it's not that hard when you're not thinking about you. Turn it all around me like you usually do, and hold me down, kiss it all away. What's so wrong with that, baby? Is it worth your love? Oh, oh. Is it worth your love? Oh, oh. See, I'm so tired, babe. Sick of trying, baby. I'm tired, baby. I'm so tired, baby. Thank you. Well, I'm thinking of you in California, yeah. Thinking I'd like to maybe get away. Well, here I feel the winter getting colder, yeah. I'd rather know if you're going to stay. Maybe if you knew I was waiting, tell me, does it help that I'm waiting, waiting for your love? Oh, I'm waiting for your love. Oh, oh. Have you found what you left in California? Yeah. Was it worth leaving me for the play? And how much time do you need along the seaside? Yeah. Or is it time for me to come your way? Yeah. Maybe if you knew I was waiting, tell me, does it help that I'm waiting, waiting for your love? Oh, I'm waiting for your love. Oh. Hold on to me, we can make it through this. Just hold on to me, we can make it through this. Hold on to me, all you've gotta do is hold on to me. Oh, 'cause I'm waiting. Tell me, does it help that I'm waiting, waiting for your love? I'm waiting for your love. Now tell me I'm waiting. Tell me, does it help that I'm waiting, waiting for your love? Oh, I'm waiting for your love. Tell me I'm waiting. Tell me, does it help that I'm waiting, waiting for your love? I'm waiting for your love. Here you come again, just when I'm about to make it work without you. You waltz right through the door, just like you've done before, and wrap your heart around my little finger. Here you come again. Oh, just when I'm about to make it work without you. You look into my eyes and lie those pretty lies, and pretty soon I'm wondering how I came to doubt you. All you've gotta do is smile, that smile. There goes all my defenses. Just leave it up to me, and in a little while you're messing with my mind, filling up my senses. Oh, but here you come again. Oh, you're looking better than a body has a right to, and you're shaking me up so. That's all I really know, is here you come again. Here I go, here I go, yeah. Here I go, yeah. Here I go, here I go. Here I go. Little girl, don't forget your dreams, I know you won't. It's much too late to turn back now. You've been through worse before, and you've been through hell, and now you've gotta carry on. But you remember sitting on the back porch smoking cigarettes, wondering if you're ever gonna leave this town and come back again. Ooh, let the sun fall on your face. Let the memories start to embrace your freedom. Oh, yeah. Little girl, don't forget your dreams, now I know you won't. It's much too late to turn back now. You've been through love before, and you've been through the lies, and now you gotta carry on. Ooh, you gotta carry on. Carry on now. But you remember sitting on the back porch smoking cigarettes, wondering if you're ever gonna leave this town and come back again. Ooh, let the sun fall on your face. Let the memories start to embrace your freedom. Ooh, let the sun fall on your face. Let the memories start to embrace your freedom. Oh, la la. You're free, somehow. La 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 la. La 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 la. You're free. Got it? Do it. Light it up. Feel alive and we'll make it good. Perfect. So I looked away. I didn't know you'd say it that day, and I feel alive. I didn't know the consequence. Didn't know that I feel like this, and I feel alive. Ooh, ooh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you're all that I can think about, baby. You're all that I can think of now. And you're all that I can think about, baby. No, now. Now you see, now all of us trying to make it through. We're loving each other through whatever we're doing. Well, I feel alive. And when I get close to you, I feel the love that I never knew, and I feel alive. Ooh, ooh, yeah, yeah, yeah. But you're all that I can think of, baby. You're all that I can think about now. And you're all that I can think of, baby. Know it now. Ooh, ooh. So I looked away and I didn't know that you'd say it that day, and I feel alive. I didn't know the consequence, didn't know that I'd feel like this, and I feel alive. Ooh, ooh, oh, and you can live it high, live it low, but I choose to be around those that never are cold. You see, I just stopped taking life so rough. I let the ones go that were making it tough, and I wonder if you'll ever know how much I love, how much I love, how much I love, baby. Ooh. Thank you. Sick of all the losers, sick of all the excuses, sick of all your lying, sick of all of my crying. Wanna hold you, darling, when you feel right. Come on over in the moonlight. No one's gotta know now. Ooh, just for tonight. Yeah, tonight. Yeah. And I won't ask, I won't tell. Words they sometimes fail. Pull me out on the line. Oh, baby, I walk this time, yeah, yeah. Oh, tonight. Ooh, just for tonight. Just come on over when you want to. Nobody's gotta make it, don't you? No one's gotta know now. We can pull all-nighter if you want to. Just come on over in the moonlight. No one's gotta know it's alright. No one's gotta know now. Ooh, just for tonight, yeah. Tonight, yeah. And I won't ask, I won't tell. Words they sometimes fail. Pull me out on the line. Oh, baby, I'll walk this time, yeah, yeah. Oh, tonight. Ooh, just for tonight. But baby, hold me down, I'll make you fall in love. Maybe baby, in the moonlight, you'll never feel alone. I said, baby, hold me down, I'll make you fall in love. Baby, in the moonlight, you'll never feel alone. I said, yeah, yeah, oh yeah. But I won't ask, I won't tell. Oh, baby, now words they do fail. Put me out on the line. Oh, baby, I walk it this time. Yeah, yeah. Oh, tonight. Oh, yeah. And I won't ask, I won't tell. Words they sometimes fail. Pull me out on the line. Oh, baby, I walk this time. Yeah, yeah. Oh, tonight. Ooh, just for tonight. Ooh, just for tonight. Ooh, ooh, just for tonight.
I think that's probably it, right? One more? You want to do brass? Okay.
I got brass in pocket, been doubting. I'm gonna use it. Intention. I'm feeling mighty. I'm gonna make you notice. Commotion, it's extreme devotion. I've been doubting. Detroit leaning, no reason. It just seems so pleasing. I'm gonna make you notice. I'm gonna use my arms. I'm gonna use my legs. I'm gonna use my style. I'm gonna use my side step. I'm gonna use my fingers. Gonna use my imagination. Oh, 'cause I'm gonna make you see there's nobody else here, no one like me. Ooh, and I'm special. Ooh, so special. I gotta have some of your attention. Give it to me, yeah. I got rhythm. I can't miss that beat. I got a new skin, well, it's so sweet. I got something, ooh, and it's a weekend at you. Gonna make you notice. I'm gonna use my arms. I'm gonna use my legs. I'm gonna use my style. I'm gonna use my side step. I'm gonna use my fingers. Gonna use my imagination. Oh, 'cause I'm gonna make you see there's nobody else here, no one like me. Ooh, and I'm special. Oh, so special. I gotta have some of your attention. Give it to me, yeah. Oh, when you want it.
No more. No more.
As they're leaving the stage, how about one more round of applause? for that amazing Nashville music. All right. Good evening and welcome to Nashville and AASHE 2013, Resiliency and Adaptation. My name is Dee Dee DeLongpre Johnston, and I'm the Director of Sustainability at Wake Forest University and a founding member of the AASHE Board of Directors. I'm honored to be your MC for this event, hosted here in Nashville's brand new Music City Center, a LEED Silver certified venue. Isn't it gorgeous? Woo! We have over 1,500 attendees, including students, staff, faculty, administrators, businesses, nonprofits, and government agencies for the largest higher education sustainability gathering in North America. Numerous states and countries are represented at our conference this year, so we encourage you to meet and talk with each other and really take advantage of the global sustainability perspectives gathered in one place for this conference. As the realities of a rapidly changing climate confront human communities in crisis and governments in gridlock, this year's theme of resiliency and adaptation captures the opportunities and challenges we are all facing. As each of us in our range of localities is confronted with the effects of droughts, floods, superstorms, fires, and the host of challenges that follow, we can't wait anymore to ask ourselves, how will we plan for the unknown? We need to develop ground-up strategies that mitigate current problems and allow us to adapt to some identifiable and inevitable outcomes on the horizon. When discussing resiliency and adaptation, another word often surfaces: vulnerability. With global change, we are all more vulnerable. Throughout the conference, you will hear from hundreds of presenters about the ways they are addressing the vulnerability of the ecosystems, communities, and economies surrounding their campuses. Perhaps it's an approach to infusing sustainability in the curriculum, or a new strategic plan for sustainability, or a new student-led initiative, or an innovative funding strategy. Whatever the approach, the theme of this year's conference calls us to identify the unique talents that each of us brings to the creation of a more resilient world. With more than 280 hours of professional development opportunities, AASHE 2013 will prepare you to go back to your campuses, organizations, and communities equipped with the knowledge and tools to chart a more sustainable path forward. Speaking of tools to strengthen sustainability planning, AASHE is excited about the upcoming launch of STARS 2.0, a project that has been 3 years in the making. STARS, AASHE's Sustainability Tracking, Assessment, and Rating System, is a great way to measure your sustainability performance as an institution and to identify strategies for improvement, strategies for adapting, for becoming more resilient, and strategies for demonstrating that higher education can lead the sustainability transformation. This new version of STARS is streamlined with fewer credits and simplified reporting. It aims to raise the bar for what a STARS rating represents and to encourage participation worldwide. We'll be debuting 2.0 this month with a new and improved website, so please stay tuned for this exciting launch. Our praise goes out to the STARS Steering Committee and all of the STARS technical advisors. I'd like to ask those folks to stand and be recognized for this impressive accomplishment. In addition, there are many others who deserve recognition. I'm going to ask you all to stand and to remain standing for all of us to hold our applause until the end. On behalf of AASHE, I'd like to thank our volunteers and ask the following to stand. The Conference Steering Committee, stand? There's more than one of you here, I'm sure of that. Okay. The host institutions, all of our presenters. This is going to be a lot of people. If you're presenting at the conference, up you go. Up, up, up. Okay. And those who reviewed the hundreds of abstracts we received this year. All of you reviewers, stand up. So whether you're on an AASHE committee, have helped with the conference, or with STARS, please stand now to be recognized for your work. This is what we mean by resilience. The diversity of minds represented by this passionate group of change agents is a good sign for the future of our efforts. Like a resilient ecosystem, the diversity of thoughts, representations, and approaches are what give us the capacity to bounce back, adapt, and create the conditions to thrive. And speaking of thriving, we also have many sponsors that have generously supported AASHE. We thank you for your commitment to advancing campus sustainability and for your presence at AASHE 2013. In just a moment, we're going to begin our awards ceremony, and following that, we'll hear from the sponsor of the awards ceremony, Chevrolet, and then we'll hear from this evening's keynote speaker, Raj Patel. I'd like to take this moment to encourage you to share insights and start conversations with each other during the next 3 days via Twitter using hashtag AASHE 2013. We'll be compiling a look at AASHE 2013 through the lens of social media, and we'd love for all of you to be a part of it. Now, please help me welcome to the stage Bill Troop, Chairman of AASHE's Board of Directors and Provost and Vice President of Academic Affairs at Green Mountain College.
Thank you, Dee Dee. And hello, AASHE 2013. Let's energy. It is really great to be all together again. One of the most special times of the year, I think, the AASHE annual conference. And it's great to be in Nashville, a fantastic host city. The Music City. We've heard a little bit, but I'm sure many of you will enjoy music down on Broadway. It's an honor to be a part of tonight's awards ceremony and to celebrate sustainability achievements across the AASHE community. But before we turn to the awards, I want to add to Dee Dee's thoughts on resiliency and adaptation, which are not only themes for this conference, but critically important themes for AASHE as an organization. Like many other organizations these days, AASHE has experienced vulnerability that tested our strength and required us to demonstrate resiliency and adaptation. The sustainability movement in higher education has grown incredibly rapidly. You all are its drivers. AASHE has grown with it. Now the movement is evolving and diversifying, and your needs are changing. AASHE needs to adapt to achieve its mission of empowering higher education to lead the sustainability transformation. The listening process, initiated this summer, and the member survey are critically important guides for shifting our course. We are learning a lot about your visions for the growth of sustainability and your needs. We are changing what we do, and we are integrating listening and adaptation into the culture of AASHE as an organization. The results of the first phase of the listening process, which will be shared tomorrow at 5 o'clock at the Listening Process Summit, will provide us an opportunity to share and to listen to your reactions to the initial data. I hope many of you will attend that. It will be a very special event. Resiliency and adaptation ultimately depend on the kind of people we are. I want to take a minute to honor the staff of AASHE. Will staff members who are here please stand? Many of them are still out working. These incredible people are the heart of AASHE. Their dedication, talent, and grit, what Angela Duckworth calls the passion and perseverance necessary to achieve a long-term goal, are what create AASHE's resiliency and enable us to adapt quickly to the changing context. I want to especially thank Wendy Scott, AASHE's Executive Director, for the last 4 months, who brings us tremendous association executive expertise to AASHE, and who works tirelessly with staff to ensure AASHE's sustainability. Wendy. With all of your help, they have developed a great conference that has significantly exceeded our attendance goals. We are over 1,700 today. And I also want to thank each of you. AASHE wouldn't be here without you. And we want you all to know how grateful we are for the time you've taken to write letters, to make phone calls, to fill out surveys, and participate in interviews in the past few months, with the collective objective of making the higher education sustainability movement as strong as it can be. Each of you in your organizations are working hard to shift thinking and change behavior. Being a change agent is hard work, but the sustainability initiatives happening in higher education are among the most important work in the world. If we don't do it, the next generation won't do it. Each of you are a part of that. Look around the room and know that you are not alone, that you have support. In this room, you have peers that have similar struggles and who are forging new solutions. We have a lot to learn from each other. Thank you for the incredibly important work that you are doing and for being here. And now I'd like to shift into recognizing some specific work by institutions in our community. The AASHE Awards are about recognizing significant achievement and innovation in campus sustainability. We're fortunate this year to have Chevrolet as our sponsor of our awards. Joining me on the stage tonight to help present the awards are David Talauskas, Director of Sustainability for General Motors, and two other members of the AASHE Board of Directors, Bill Brown, Director of Sustainability at Indiana University, and Famida Ahmed, Director of Sustainability at Stanford University. And now we're pleased to present the AASHE 2013 Awards. There are three main categories: the Student Research on Campus Sustainability Award, the Student Sustainability Leadership Award, and the Campus Sustainability Case Studies Award. As many of you know, submissions were received in the spring and reviewed by a team of judges comprised of volunteer AASHE members who then selected the winners. Before we announce the winners, I'd like to ask all the finalists to stand and be recognized for your great work. Come on, finalists, stand up. The first award. And now, we'll start by announcing the winner of the Student Research on Campus Sustainability Award. It has both an undergraduate and a graduate winner. In recognition for their research entitled Analysis of Student Behaviors Impacting Carbon Emissions Through Community-Based Social Marketing Research, please join me in congratulating Aaron Kozloff, Daniela Mostow, and Alex Dieter from Oberlin College. Our undergraduate winners of the Student Research on Campus Sustainability Award. Photo op. And for the same category of student research on campus sustainability, join me in congratulating our graduate winner for his research entitled Fostering Sustained Energy Behavior Change and Increasing Energy Literacy in a Student Housing Energy Challenge. Congratulations to Robert Stephen Brewer, a graduate student at the University of Hawaii, Manoa. And now Famida Ahmed will present the Student Sustainability Leadership Award.
Thank you, Bill. It's so great to see everybody. Welcome. I will continue on with the awards. First, the Student Sustainability Leadership Award. There have been many finalists, and of the three, the winner is the University of Minnesota Morris and University of Minnesota Twin Cities for their program, Next Generation Environmental Leaders, convening youth from across the state to represent the youth voice at the statewide Environmental Congress. Congratulations. Please come to the podium. In the next category, Campus Sustainability Case Study Award, we have 4 different winners, each recognizing a particular size institution. The first award, recognizing the best case study from an associate's college with 5,000 or fewer full-time students for their project, Harnessing Seawater, an innovative thermal exchange HVAC system. Congratulations to our winner, Southern Maine Community College. The next award for the best case study from an associate's college with more than 5,000 full-time students for their work, Solar Power, Horticulture, and Culinary Arts Integration Project. Congratulations to our winner, Metropolitan Community College. Please come to the podium. I'd like to reintroduce you to Bill Brown, my wonderful colleague in the board of directors for AASHE. Bill is the director of sustainability with Indiana University.
Thank you, Famida. It's my honor to recognize the best case study from a 4-year or graduate institution with 10,000 or fewer full-time students for their project, Tree Inventory and Carbon Sequestration Storage Analysis. Congratulations to our winner, Warren Wilson College. And now for our last award for the best case study from a 4-year or graduate institution with more than 10,000 full-time students for their project, College of Sustainability, Transforming a Campus for Sustainability Education. Congratulations to our winner, Dalhousie University. And I will turn the microphone back to Bill Troop.
Amazing work, but just as amazing is the work that so many of you are doing. I would like to have everyone give a round of applause to the incredible sustainability work that has been doing across this room and across the nation. And the world. Each of our winners will be speaking about their projects this week. Please check your program and make sure to attend their session if you're interested in learning more about their groundbreaking work. And now I'd like to turn things over to David Talauskas, Director of Sustainability for General Motors, who is here representing our friends at Chevrolet, who we've partnered with on several exciting programs David's going to tell you more about. We're grateful for Chevy's support and for David being here tonight to announce some very special opportunities for AASHE members and institutions looking to do more on climate change. Please join me in welcoming David.
Thank you, Bill, and congratulations again to all the finalists. You guys were truly inspiring how you took the initiative and came up with innovative solutions to a lot of issues. And that's really what we need, and Chevrolet is proud to be part of AASHE 2013 and to sponsor the awards. Chevrolet has been on a journey much like you guys, and in 2010 we launched our Chevrolet Carbon Reduction Initiative, and the goal was to reduce up to 8 million metric tons of CO2 from the atmosphere voluntarily for the climate, and we were willing to spend up to $40 million to do that. We had a general idea of what we wanted to do. We engaged a lot of great partners to help us do that. I'd like to acknowledge Bonneville Environmental Foundation, who's not here with us, but they've been a great support, and Sue Hall from the Climate Neutral Business Network. Thank you, Sue. She's here. So we are in kind of the last phases. We've had contracts committed to sell General Motors over 7 million metric tons. We've retired over 2 million metric tons of that to date. And as we've been on our journey, we really have been inspired by folks like you, and it was part of the inspiration of how we could look at the carbon markets and climate change and see how we could have a more meaningful impact, not just in the communities in which we operate, but support leaders and innovators like you. So I'm pleased to announce today that we're going to be doing, announcing soon, you guys are really the first audience to hear it, is the Chevrolet Campus Clean Energy Campaign. And we're willing to help fund aggressive campuses that are working to reduce carbon reductions above and beyond business as usual, either on a campus-wide basis or a lead building type project. So you'll be hearing more of that throughout the conference tomorrow and Tuesday at a workshop. And we look forward to working with all of you guys and learning from you, supporting you, and continuing the journey with you. As part of that, I'd like to thank AASHE. They've been a wonderful partner in this. We'll be leveraging some of their tools. Also, USGBC is another partner that is supporting us in the methodology that we're developing for you guys to monetize your efforts with your carbon reduction. And we have two pioneering university or colleges represented here today. I'd like to acknowledge them as well. Bob Kester from Ball State University. I don't know if Bob is here, but would like to give him a round of applause. And also Deb Green from Valencia College. Would like to thank her. Thank you, Deb. And would also like to just announce that Chevrolet, really with these awards, we're committed to sponsoring and supporting innovative and ingenious students like you guys. All business needs students that come to work with a sustainability mindset. And I don't care if you are studying accounting or marketing or economics, we need that mindset regardless of your professional career that you're going to join. And so we're going to be announcing soon some student awards that we'll be communicating through our partners, and we hope to inspire you guys to continue your great work. Thank you very much.
To shuffle through the papers to find the right one. Thank you, David, for that. So again, I'd like to congratulate all of the award winners this evening and all of the finalists one more time. So shifting gears, at this point I have the pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker. Raj Patel is an award-winning writer, activist, and academic. He has degrees from the University of Oxford, the London School of Economics, and Cornell University. He has worked for the World Bank and WTO and protested against them around the world. He's a visiting scholar at UC Berkeley's Center for African Studies, an honorary research fellow at the School of Development Studies at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and a fellow at the Institute for Food and Development Policy, also known as Food First. He testified about the causes of the global food crisis to the U.S. House Financial Services Committee and is an advisor to the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the Right to Food. In addition to numerous scholarly publications in economics, philosophy, politics, and public health journals, he regularly writes for The Guardian and has contributed to the LA Times, NewYorkTimes.com, the San Francisco Chronicle, the Mail on Sunday, and The Observer. His first book was Stuffed and Starved, The Hidden Battle for the World Food System, and his latest, The Value of Nothing, is a New York Times bestseller. He's currently working on a documentary about the global food system with award-winning director Steve James. I encourage you to take a look at the trailer. It's incredible. So please join me in welcoming as our opening keynote speaker at AASHE 2013, Mr. Raj Patel.
Good Lord. Hello, AASHE. Am I pronouncing it AASHE? AASHE. Well, thank you very much indeed, and thank you, Dee Dee, thank you, AASHE, for bringing me here. I'm going to prowl around, so people who are watching me on the screen there, I'm sorry that I'm just going to be like watching the Blair Witch Project. I'll just be going backwards and forward. I've been asked to talk about value, and I want to do that. I want to be a good guest and talk about value, but I also want to just get into some nitty-gritty about the documentary that Dee Dee mentioned, because it seems to me that there are some stories there that are going to be useful, not just in terms of a metaphor, but in some really concrete ways if we're thinking about adaptability and resiliency. But first, value. As the book goes, this comes from an Oscar Wilde quote, "Nowadays, people know the price of everything and the value of nothing." And I mean, the reason that I chose that title and the reason I wrote that book was to help folk who didn't understand economics make sense of why we were in the financial crisis and what were the sort of assumptions that got us there. Because if we'd looked to the sort of the leading lights of economics, we wouldn't have had much luck in understanding. If we'd followed their lead, we'd have been a bit baffled. Because, for example, men like Alan Greenspan, one of the followers of Ayn Rand, who is viewed as a philosopher in this country and is viewed as a writer of difficult fiction in other countries. He was part of an inner circle. Ayn Rand used to call Alan Greenspan the Undertaker. Because of the way he dressed and because she didn't have much of an imagination, I suppose. But I mean, the Undertaker he was, and he was sort of the leading light for understanding the way economics worked. And yet he was brought low by the financial system that he helped to engineer. And in front of Henry Waxman in the House Financial Services Committee, he was Alan Greenspan was sort of brought to task, and initially he said, well, you know, the financial crisis, well, the reason we have the financial crisis is because the models that we were working on only had data that went back 20 years. If we'd gone back 40 years, we'd have seen this coming, so oops. But he got pushed back a lot more by Henry Waxman, and at one point there's this moment where Greenspan admits that I have found, it's very jowly, and I have found a flaw in the system that I thought was governing the world. I don't even know if he sounds like, he does sound like a little bit. But he'd found a flaw in the fundamental ideology that he felt was governing the world. And this flaw, this ideology is something that I think is worth teasing apart a little bit. Because when Alan Greenspan, you know, the sort of free marketeer extraordinaire, finds a problem with that free market ideology, we should pay attention, I think. And yet, the way the media reported the event was very interesting. It was Alan Greenspan finds a flaw, movie at 11. You know, and it was about this individual old man's humiliation, rather than a very deep revelation about the economic system in which we move. And I mean, it's like in Franz Kafka's short story, Metamorphosis. You know, Metamorphosis, right? Where one morning, Gregor Samsa wakes up to find himself in the body of a bug. And Gregor Samsa, you know, this sort of, he wakes up, he's a cockroach. And what does Gregor Samsa do? I mean, does he ask, so what the bloody hell happened? Does he ask, what will I be tomorrow morning? No. The first thing that Gregor Samsa does is worry, how am I going to keep my job? Now, actually, I mean, I think that's a really deep observation, right? I mean, in a time of crisis like that, what you want to do is just figure out how to keep going. And when we heard Alan Greenspan's you know, sort of hideous admission, we were in the middle of the financial crisis. Of course, all of us were worried about our jobs, and we were right to be. But it's also important to take the step back and wonder, well, what the hell just happened? And I think it's worth us retreating a little bit and thinking about this economic ideology, which has really pervaded our systems of government and our systems of finance and of industry. Because if we do take that step back, we'll be able to see some of the assumptions that are leading us away from sustainability. And we do need to be moving toward sustainability. So, I mean, really, the fundamental idea that Alan Greenspan through Ayn Rand and a range of others were holding on to, was the idea that greed is good, that as individual greedy individuals, as greedy sort of autonomous economic agents, we will together find the best possible solution. You know, our individual desires through the market will be summed up, and we will end up in a much better place because our greed will direct the market, it will send the right kinds of signals, resources will be appropriate, it will be used appropriately, and everything will be fine. The trouble is that we are not the greedy individuals that are described by economic theory. We are not selfish, we're not rational. We're not, we rarely behave as economic models would predict us to be. I mean, there is no deeply selfish, pure, sort of motivated by greed human being alive. I mean, we have social scientific proof. I mean, even the most greedy class of individuals, greedy and selfish class of individuals that is known to in the Western world, which is graduate students in economics. Even those, I mean, and you know, they've done this by looking at sort of reciprocity games, and they've discovered that the people who are most likely to, you don't want to play a reciprocity game with a graduate student in economics. But as a graduate student in economics, I'm like, that makes sense. I'm recovering. But what's interesting is that even graduate students in economics still care about one another. They still care about their families. They still behave in ways that are not purely rational and self-interested. So the question is, I mean, are there these rational, greedy individuals? Well, there are. I mean, the corporations that move through our world, the large financial institutions that are in it only for the short term, those kinds of institutions do strike me as these rapacious, greedy individuals. And so the question is, well, how do we, can we imagine a system that reins in those greedy individuals, that reins in the excesses of market capitalism? And you know, I mean, often people say, well, no, there's no possible way we can do that. I mean, you may say individuals are not greedy, but you know, think about the tragedy of the commons. The tragedy of the commons. Are people familiar with the tragedy of the commons? I mean, a few people here, but I mean, it's important to remember that the tragedy of the commons was a thought experiment. It was published by a soil scientist called Garrett Hardin, and it was based on no data at all other than a very simple assumption of two rules. The first rule being that we are all selfish and greedy, and the second is that without property rights, things will go horribly wrong. So let's do this as a thought experiment, right? I mean, imagine that we are all the village of AASHE, and we are all selfish, greedy bastards. And surrounding us is a wonderful forest, and nobody owns the forest. And so what we'll do, we'll go out in the forest and we'll chop down the trees as we need them. We'll shoot the squirrels. We'll forage for nuts and berries. We'll do whatever it is we like. And the tragedy of the commons is that one of us will, with their axe, chop down the last tree on which we all depend. And the tragedy is that we do this with eyes wide open. That's the tragedy of the commons, right? The thing is that human beings don't do that. Human beings, if you look at indigenous systems of the commons, for example, human beings are really good at figuring out ways of cooperating. Human beings are really good at understanding that we depend on the natural world. If we're given enough resources and we're given the opportunity to learn from our mistakes, if we're given an opportunity to live in a context where we can make mistakes and still be resilient, then we get to adapt. And then we get to learn. And if you look at the commons-based systems that have been studied, what you see is that commons-based systems not only preserve more farmland or more woodland, they sequester carbon much better, but they also provide much better development, and they provide much more community development. They provide in terms of income than either the free market or the government coming in. And I think that's very reassuring. It provides a sort of counterexample that you don't need the free market, you don't need government telling what you can do is organize autonomously. And then you will say, well, that's all well and good if you are living in a forest and you are able to manage your resources autonomously. But we don't live in a forest, and we live here and now. What do we do about that? And it's a fair question. I mean, I think that people then say, well, what we need to do is just get some of the controls back that we had with, in our government. We need more environmental regulation. We need the Glass-Steagall Act back, for example. Now, bear in mind, Glass-Steagall, for those of you who are unfamiliar with it, was a 1933 limitation on the way in which commercial and retail banking could coexist, and it put a wall between them. Now, what's interesting is, and people forget, Glass-Steagall was a compromise. Glass-Steagall was Carter Glass and Henry Steagall, both unpleasant racists who got together and hewed out this compromise in 1933 that looked very much like socialism today. But neither of them were socialists. But the reason they put together this compromise is because there were socialists and anarchists outside Congress demanding change. Right? It's important to remember that if we're interested in changing the rules of the system in which sustainability can flourish, we need to be thinking about not just sort of petitioning our dysfunctional government to do the right thing, but actually to be organizing with something way more radical so that what emerges is a compromise. But we need to be able to dream those radical thoughts, and it's hard to do that. And so what I want to do is now, there's been a lot of talk of shifting gears, perhaps because of our sponsor. I wonder whether I might just move aside and go orthogonally a little bit to tell you a couple of stories from this Generation Food. The project that I'm working on at the moment is called Generation Food. And it's really about these sort of intergenerational ideas of thinking about how we feed the world in the future, and the world can feed itself in the future. And what characterizes it is these are ideas that are very much grassroots. They're responses to the financial crisis. They're responses to large-scale industrial agriculture. And I'm really pleased to be working with the director, Steve James. He's a director so good, he's got 2 first names. But he has done movies you may have seen, like Hoop Dreams and The Interrupters. And these are movies that take the living experiences of poor people very seriously. And one of the stories I want to tell is from Malawi. Now, the reason I wanted to go to Malawi is that it's an example not only of resilience and adaptation at work, but it helps us understand exactly what sustainability is. Sustainability is not just green technology. It's technology for sure, but it's also the means of distributing the fruits of that technology. You can't just have sustainability where you have just sort of pure sort of fountains of green, but only a few people get to enjoy them. Sustainability is about both a social component and a technological component. And what I love about the Malawi story that I'm going to tell you is that it has both of these things in spades. Now, maybe I should give you a little bit of background. Malawi is a landlocked country in sub-Saharan Africa, one of the poorest countries on earth, by some measures, the poorest country on earth. It is life expectancy of 53 years old. 12% of the population are living with AIDS, and it is a country that is exporting really just tobacco. It has a small tourism industry. Mainly it's in the tobacco business. Now, the reason I want to tell you all that is because Malawi's politicians aren't stupid. They understand that they live, their population is poor and mainly rural, and they want to grow food. And so a little while ago, one of the Malawian presidents, a man called Bingu wa Mutharika, decided that what he was going to do was to ignore the advice that he was getting from development experts. And he was going to start giving away he would start supporting his farmers by giving them what they needed. And what he thought that farmers needed was fertilizer. So he starts giving away fertilizer to Malawian farmers. Now, the trouble is that when he does this, he does it in 2008, when the global food price crisis was at its zenith. You remember 2008, right? The price of food went through the roof. Now, what was the agricultural commodity whose price went up the most? Fertilizer. Went up 250%. And that's when Malawi starts buying fertilizer. So they spend all of their foreign exchange, they spend all of their dollars, and the country goes bankrupt, and there's no money for fuel. So there are protests in the street around a lack of access to fuel. And these are the first kind of new green revolution riots, right? People taking to the streets because they've been told, buy fertilizer, this is the way to go. And it's sad because, I mean, the development economists like Jeffrey Sachs, for example, another man who's sort of big head, big hands. And he's like, Malawi is the place to go. I can't even do. I just embarrass everyone when I try to do an American accent. So I'm not going to do that. But Jeffrey Sachs was very excited by this Malawian experiment because if you look at the numbers, and only if you look at some of the numbers, it seems that Malawi doubles the amount of corn that it produces. Corn is the staple crop in Malawi. So it doubles from 2007-8 to 2008-9. The trouble is, mainly the reason for that doubling is because the rains come. And the rains came on time after a few years of them not coming on time. And so all of a sudden it looks like you've got a doubling of the harvest. But if you factor out the rains, the fertilizer contributes to about 15% of an increase. That's nothing to sniff at. But it did bankrupt the country. And so it came at a fairly high price. Now, there is an alternative here. And it's not another one of Jeffrey Sachs's sort of favorite things is the possibility of genetically modified crops. And Jeffrey Sachs said, well, what if there's a gene for climate change? He says, what if there's a gene for climate change? Surely genetically modified crops, they can help Malawi feed itself. But of course, that's madness, right? I mean, climate change is change. It's not one thing. You can't have a gene for just one thing, for this sort of spectacular variety of things that's happening. And of course, we've moved beyond the one gene, one trait sort of understanding as well. But there is a much better way than rather than finding magic beans, which is essentially what we're being offered, right? The sort of Jack and the Beanstalk school of, give me your cow, I'll give you some beans, and you'll be able to plant them, and then you'll have to buy them again next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. But instead of that model, what we have in northern Malawi is something very, very different. I'm going to tell you about that after some of this. People should drink more of this. It comes from a tap. It's awesome. So in northern Malawi, what they have, in 2000, this is an idea actually, it's about sustainability and adaptability, and it comes from a hospital. Because what they wanted to do was to end malnutrition. And in fact, I'm going to turn you all into Malawian villagers now, because you're going to help solve this problem. So they need to stop infant malnutrition. And this is in a rural area, and the crop that's mainly getting grown is corn. And so they want to stop infant malnutrition. So who do they work with? Farmers, fantastic. So they realize that what they need is farmers to be growing new kinds of crops. Now, unfortunately, because the World Bank and other institutions had cut the agriculture budget to the bone, there was no money for research to be given out where the government would actually help farmers figure out what to do. So what happens is that farmers figure out, well, we're going to be researchers. And so with a little bit of money from a donor, they start experimenting with new kinds of crops, with soybeans and millet and sorghum and traditional crops, and then like soybeans have no business being in sub-Saharan Africa, but these are crops that originate from China, but they're fantastic. They're really good for the soil. And so they start growing, and this network of 5,000 farmers gets together, and they do peer-to-peer file sharing, but without the electricity. Every farmer becomes a scientist. Every farmer becomes someone who is empowered to figure out this stuff by themselves, and then exchange it with their neighbor. And so instead of the sort of top-down agricultural extension service, what you have is 5,000 people who realize they are smarter than they've ever been told in their lives. 5,000 people who realize that together they can make all kinds of new discoveries about agroecology and farming. So they discover, for instance, that you can plant cowpea next to sorghum, next to millet, next to leguminous trees that fix nitrogen in the soil, so they help improve soil quality. Plus, they provide shade. Now, because of climate change, which again, Malawian farmers have believed in far longer than we have, the climate change has raised the peak temperatures in Malawian fields. So sometimes it gets too hot for photosynthesis to work. And one of the ways that you can combat that is by having these shady trees. And by increasing shade, you can increase yields by between 10 and 20%. So it sort of violates the rules that we were taught when we were growing up about, well, to grow plants, you need sun and water and soil. Now you need shade, too, to help mitigate climate change. But it's an adaptation strategy, but it's also a way in which you can also provide wood, and you can provide, again, soil fertility. You can increase soil fertility without needing to buy fertilizer. It's brilliant. But then you're up against a couple of problems. One, I mean, these farmers have been able to grow all kinds of fantastic, really great crops. And, you know, it's cowpea and sorghum and millet. And people are like, cowpea, sorghum, millet. I know they're nutritious. I have no idea what to do. It's like kale. You know, where you know, you've got this kale, it's gorgeous, but you have no idea what to do. I mean, you know it's nutritious. Just somewhere in those leaves there's something that tastes good, but it just takes a while to get there. And then you have the second problem. It's a much deeper problem, which is, and here again, I'm going to turn you into the villagers. How is it? It is possible for there to be more food in the field. So this technology is great, right? You've got more food coming out of the ground, 15 to 20% more food in the fields, and yet infant malnutrition can increase. How is it possible for there to be more food in the fields and for infant malnutrition to go up? Have a guess. Export, someone says. No, well, it's funny, but one of the ways that Malawi is trying to you know, pay the bills from its fertilizer disaster is by exporting food. And, but these tend to be not crops that are really for export, not yet. Spoilage. That's a very good point. You know, when we always hear about we must avoid food waste, and you have to eat your greens because there are children starving in Africa. Now, of course, that's a sentence that makes no sense. Eat your greens because there are children starving in Africa. That's just a parental trick that I'm very pleased to be using. But if you're interested about food waste, then particularly in the global south, you have to worry about post-harvest loss. But in this case, it's not getting, there are some really clever ideas for storage, and it's doing just fine. So again, think about it. There's more food in the fields, there's more of it there, and it's not being wasted, it's not being exported, and yet infant malnutrition is going up. Why? Shout it out. It's the wrong food. No, it's not, because it's kale, and I mean, it's the equivalent of, sometimes it is kale. It's sorghum and millet. Soy. Soy is one of the most fantastic. Soy is more like a meat than a plant in terms of the variety of proteins. It's a fantastic food. Come on. Channel your inner Milan. Distribution. Well, that could be, that's it. That's about as close as we're going to get, and it's still not right. So here's the reason. Harvesting is women's work, but so is carrying water and cooking and cleaning and breastfeeding. So when you have more harvesting to do, and you still have the same amount of cooking, cleaning, and carrying water, it's the breastfeeding that goes, right? So you've got more food, and because you've got more food, you've got less time to breastfeed. So how do you fix that? Get the men to cook. Fantastic. How do you do that? Okay, sit with it. Well, so some people, and these are Malawian villages. I mean, all of this is coming from the Malawian villages themselves, right? There's no sort of great white person coming in and saying, "You men must cook." It's all, I mean, it's all coming from Malawian, from the villages themselves, because in part they've been empowered to solve these problems because they learned how to work together doing the peer-to-peer science, and now they're figuring out the peer-to-peer exchange and democracy, and so what they figure is, well, obviously, we'll just show the men to cook, right? We'll go door to door. We'll find a chef or a nutritionist or someone, and we'll show the men how to cook. It's kind of a food network approach, right? It's beaming it into everyone's house. And so they go around, they go door to door, and they're like, hello, gentlemen of the house, here we are. Look, here's a chef, here's your buddies, and here's a pot. You may have seen your wife hunched over this. And here's, you throw some things in, and you cook it, and it tastes great, and the farmer, the man of the house is like, oh, you make it look so easy. And yet, of course, after that, nothing happens. Because just like the Food Network here, that was entertainment. That wasn't about transformation. That was just about fun. And it was fun, and everyone had a good time, but nothing changes afterwards. So what they came up with was something absolutely fantastic. It's called a recipe day. And the recipe day is a venue where you get about 100 people, men, women, and children, who come together and explore and exchange ideas about recipes and exchange ideas about how to cook this food. So you solve the kale problem, right? You solve the problem of, well, I understand this is nutritious, but I don't know what to do, because you have 100 people swapping recipes and giving awards to each other, gamifying, if you like, the idea of good nutrition. And whenever these recipe days happen, you have new and exciting recipes, new ways of eating these foods that are entirely foreign to Malawi. But Malawian farmers aren't conservative in that way of just like, oh, it's foreign, I won't eat that. They're really excited to eat good food. They really care about their kids. They care about the next generation. And they're really excited to eat this stuff. But then also you have, so you have this recipe contest. But then what's interesting about this space of the recipe day is that everyone is equal. For one of the rare moments, you get to have a prefigurative community, a community where everyone's opinion is respected, no matter who you are. And so women will teach the men to cook, the men will go fetch the water, the men will do the washing up. And all of a sudden, it's an experiment not like a carnival, not like a kind of, oh, we're going to overturn roles for a day, but an experiment of living just for an afternoon to see how perfect equality could look like. And in this space, women get to call men out on their shit. And it's important, right? So it's what could have been a domestic quarrel. If it happened at home, it would have just been a fight. But because it happens here, and because it's a safe space, all of a sudden, people are experimenting with democracy in a way that they've never been allowed to before. And in these spaces, you get to exchange the technologies of cooking, the technologies of farming. How did you grow that soy? What did you plant it with? What was the intercropping arrangement? And you build community, but you build democracy at the same time. And I think that has inside it a range of things, because certainly if you look at the data, we've seen that child malnutrition in this particular part of Malawi has dropped to 0. It's like families involved in this process are now, you see malnutrition dropping to 0. Plus, 94% of families who responded to the questionnaire, and we're having a much bigger, more reliable survey, have said that women and men are getting along better. Now, it's not just that going to one of these recipe days will change your life, but it becomes a space in which you experience this sort of wonderful world, and then women and men are organizing afterwards, and women are empowered by that experience, and men, well, men give up their patriarchy. They don't like it. Well, as a man, I try and flay the patriarchy out of me, and it's a lifelong project. I've got a 3-year-old boy. To be able to save him from that and be able to also just correct that is a lifetime's work. We live in a patriarchal society. It's worth naming that. But what's interesting about these spaces is that the powerful are okay with ceding some of their power. This is a perfect example of democracy. What's democracy is when everyone is so bought into the process that even when you lose, you're okay with it, which is the opposite of what we have in Congress. Now, again, what it seems to me is that's exciting here is that you have this technology. The agroecology itself is a resilient technology. When you intercrop, you're diversifying your portfolio. And we'll get to how this is an important metaphor if you're interested in institutional change in higher education a little later on. But you're diversifying your portfolio of plants. There's a fantastic story about in Nicaragua when Hurricane Mitch tore through, and there were 2 plantain plantations. One plantain plantation was an industrial monoculture, right? So just medium-sized, high-yielding plantains. And the hurricane tore through, and it was leveled. And most of the trees, 90% of the trees couldn't be recovered. And the labor was plantation labor, so they were off-site, and then they came 2-3 days later when they could make it, and they started pushing up the trees, and most of the trees were lost. But in the case of where there was an agroecology, then you had tall plantains, medium-sized plantains. You had crops for fuel, crops for fiber, crops for medicine. And when the hurricane tore through, yes, of course, there was a lot of loss. But then, because the community was there, they were able to save the majority of. They were able to save 70% of downed trees, I think is the figure. And the trees that couldn't be saved, that's fine. They were taken off. They were used for fuel. And because the light came down through the canopy, all these other crops provided an insurance, and there was, the soil was much more robust, so it wasn't being washed away by the hurricane. And in general, it's a perfect both metaphor and real practical example of what diversification and diversity does if you're interested in adaptability. and if you're interested in resilience. Because what happened was that these farms were back up and running within 90 days. About 90% of the farms were back in 90 days if they're agroecological. And if they were not agroecological, it took twice that time. It took 6 months for the farms to recover. Now, if you're interested in resiliency, why wouldn't you want to learn from that kind of diversification, that kind of understanding that because of climate change, the future provides way more uncertainty. You need to diversify. You can't go the monoculture route. But there's the other example here, which is you can have the best dam system in the world, which is providing 15% more yields than anything else, and people could still go hungry unless you address distribution, unless you address inequality. And to do that, you can't do that alone. You can't, it requires organizing for change. I know that the students who met earlier on today were talking about the civil rights movement, and I think that's exactly the place to look. Dr. King's, Paul Peoples' movement was exactly about understanding that, yes, we are in a time where we need to fight for individual rights, but we need to fight against poverty, and we can only do that collectively. And that's hard to do. I mean, it's hard to imagine the bigger work of organizing and dreaming bigger. Dreaming more than we have at the moment. Because our imaginations are so corralled. I mean, if you're a student, I imagine that you're worried about your student debt, which is, and yet there are ways around that. I went to Oxford. It was a government school. They gave me money to drink and to buy books. I graduated with $800 in debt because it was understood that education is not just about getting a job, but education is about turning out citizens. People who are civic members of society who can together work to make society better. That's what education is for. But it's hard because the debt forces on us ways of cleaving to the rules when we should be cleaving the rules apart. So what do we do about that? Well, I think there are ways, if we're interested in making our higher education more sustainable, there are ways that we can do that through, within the existing framework of rules. I think divestment campaigns are very interesting if we're interested in moving forward around moving away from fossil fuels. Now, of course, no one, I think, pretends, at least I don't, that if the university of wherever it is, whether it's one of the largest or the smallest, an individual divestment is going to bring fossil fuels to an end. It's not. The point of a divestment campaign is to create the space where we get to build community. And when we build that community, we get to build the kind of community that you saw in the recipe day, a community where all of a sudden we get to dream bigger than we've ever been allowed to before, and where we get to do things like thinking about not repaying our student debt. And where we think about other ways in which student debt can be used. I'm working with a landless farmer in Maine, and we're working on a policy to where a student loan repayment could in fact be a down payment on land, so that students who want to be farmers can all of a sudden start farming again. There are ways in which we can dream way bigger than we've been allowed to till now, but it's hard because it's, as I say, we've been corralled. We've also been, I think we've been divorced from the traditions of activism that had the big picture view. So we're encouraged to feed the hungry. And it's important, again, who doesn't want to feed the hungry? There is a dignified emergency among hungry people, among the poor in America, and that must be met. But I always think about the Black Panthers, because I always think about the Black Panthers. But the Black Panthers had a school meals program. A lot of people think of Black Panthers and all they remember are the guns. But the Black Panthers understood that if you wanted to make change, you needed to be where people were. And their program, they had 44 survival programs, they were called, to meet the needs of poor people. And they were doing everything from giving away free shoes to escorting elderly people home to free school breakfast for kids. This is a sort of Alice Waters idea. School breakfast for kids. But they were feeding more school kids than the entire state of California was feeding. The Black Panthers were feeding more kids than the state of California under a government-mandated program because they understood that this was a way of actually holding up the dignity of the poor while organizing for something bigger and better. The Black Panthers had these survival programs called Survival Pending Revolution. And I think it's okay to dream that big because if we don't dream that big, we'll always end up with a compromise halfway in the middle, a compromise between Glass-Steagall and what we need, so the Dodd-Frank Act, for example. And so I think we do need to allow ourselves to be bigger. So how do you do that? Well, again, it comes through organizing, it comes through history, it comes through an engagement with activists who've been there. And I just want to end with a sort of contemporary struggle, very briefly. But this is a struggle that's just on my mind at the moment, because in KwaZulu-Natal, in the town of Durban, there are some activists, people who live in shacks, the Abahlali Basem Jondolo Shack Dwellers movement. You can Google it, it's spelled like it's pronounced. They have been fighting for the end of apartheid since apartheid ended. They've been waiting for homes to be made available to them. And now there are people who've been born and sadly have died in shacks waiting for the promise of apartheid to be delivered. And last Saturday, last Sunday, there was a young woman, a 17-year-old, who was shot in the back by the police at a peaceful protest that the police turned violent there. And they need your solidarity, they need your support, but they have things to teach us. And one of the things that they teach is a slogan, as some of you in the anti-apartheid movement may remember. But it's an important slogan, and what I want you to do is just now stand up, and we're going to be up, and anti-apartheid activism is going to rear its head again. Because the slogan is Amandla Awetu. Amandla is power, and Awetu is ours. And often we forget that, Amandla Awetu. So there's a call and response. I say Amandla, you say Awetu. Amandla! 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 Fist in the Amandla! That strength will keep us through the dark times. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Now, thank you. Thank you so much. Now, we have time for questions. This is the bit where we get to learn, where we get to do the peer-to-peer, right?
And he's completely capable, so I'm going to let him field his questions for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know, is there a microphone, or people just shout? Is there a microphone? Somebody ask a question who's sitting on a microphone.
Well, I'll go since no one else is going to walk up.
Awesome, thank you. Oh, there are microphones right there.
So, you made it, of course, a very strong case for all of the, collective action and social and political action. And I guess one thing that I work at a small liberal arts college, and so our students are very, very focused on individual action and on the college itself, because that's where they feel like they can have the biggest impact. And so I guess my question would be how to open that up to seeing, beyond individual action, beyond the borders of the school, because that's where they can have the more immediate impact, but not necessarily the biggest impact, and just how to navigate that space.
I wrestle with that as well, because on the one hand, of course, we do all want to make, to see the smile on the faces of those who it is that we think we're helping, and that sort of philanthropic urge is entirely normal and natural. The trouble is, you're right. The fact that I have to say the question that I get, and I imagine many of the staff here also get when dealing when sort of fielding questions about sustainability, is you'll get undergraduates who are very, very engaged and committed, and will come up to you and say, "I'm just one person. What can I do?" A quick show of hands. Have people either been asked that question or have asked that question? There we go. Look, now that question, it seems to me, is a symptom of the times that we're in. The fact that it gets asked in that way is symptomatic of the world in which we find ourselves, where we're encouraged through green consumerism to be these individual kind of actors, and to see ourselves as able to effect change only by buying fair trade coffee, or whatever it is. I buy fair trade coffee because what's the alternative? Bastard coffee? I would like blood on my beans. I would like small children to suffer for my coffee. No, of course, but I think part of the problem is that not having had not having had experienced the joys of organizing and the joys of actually being in a moment where everyone's shouting Amandla, where all of a sudden you feel more powerful than you ever thought. Being denied that experience, I think, does a lot to crimp the imagination. There's James Scott at Yale has an anthropology class, and this is an apocryphal story. Sadly, it's not exactly true, but it's good enough for government work, I believe, is the term. So what he does, he has his undergraduates come in for the Anthropology 101 class, and it's one of these big sort of stadium classes. And he says, ladies and gentlemen, there will come a time in the world today where the world around us will be so unjust, so unsustainable, that you'll need to break a rule in order to keep your dignity and your integrity. And my great fear, ladies and gentlemen, is that you don't know how to do that. And so when that time comes, I feel that you will just be impotent in face of these changes. So what I would encourage you to do every day is break a small rule, break a small law. Cross the road where you shouldn't, take from the rich, give to the poor, plant something where it doesn't belong. But I certainly think that and one of the themes of the Generation Food stories we're looking at is everyone's breaking a rule, whether it's a rule about patriarchy, or whether it's a rule about farming, whether it's a rule about finance, whether it's a rule about private property. Everyone's breaking rules because that's the only way that you get to go forward. So I certainly think that just the everyday kind of exercise, the calisthenics of breaking rules, is important to encourage in young people today because y'all are too well behaved. But I also think that particularly organizing around food can be really fun because, often in sustainability, we're like the party killers, right? Where it's like, well, that's not sustainable. Oh, no, you don't want to do that. No, that would be unsustainable too. Are you having fun? That's not sustainable. And of course, when it comes to, particularly around food, sustainability is pleasure. It's all about joy. Good food is way better than crap food, right? When you know where your food comes from, and I think that this is part of the sort of individualistic moment in the food movement, is that it's all about pleasure for me. But actually, the greatest pleasure you can have is actually through organizing and eating meals together. I mean, think of your favorite meal, your best meal you ever had. It wasn't you sitting at McDonald's all by yourself going, this is fucking great. It was about a conversation and about a place and a time and an attitude to resources that was not individual but was collective, and about an attitude to effort that was not individual but collective, and an attitude to pleasure that was not individual but collective. And so it seems to me that there are groups around the country that are organizing around some of these principles. There's a group in Detroit that we're following called Cook, Eat, Talk. And what they do is they cook, and then they eat, and then they talk about local community problems. And they find that the kitchen table is the best place to start organizing beyond individual action to collective action, and then bringing in other people to say, well, we can't solve this neighborhood problem without taking on the state government. We can't solve the state problem without taking on the national government. But having the space to talk about politics over the dinner table, which I was told when I came to America, you're not allowed to do. You're not allowed to talk about politics and religion. What do you talk about? I mean, you have to talk about politics and religion over the dinner table, and I think that encouraging that joy of being able to have good food and important political conversations at the same time is what the Black Panthers did, and what we need to be doing more of, I think. Sir.
Yeah, thank you for accepting the invitation to speak at AASHE when you could be with your comrades in Kashmir or Chiapas. This is quite a fortunate occasion. My question revolves around your experience working with and against corporations. I find myself at a dilemma at this conference. When we talk about sustainability, the first thing that comes to mind isn't Chevrolet's personal car and concrete highway systems. Likewise, at the Student Summit, we have one of the largest corporations sponsoring the Student Summit, which is absolutely absurd. If anybody from AASHE staff can hear, Airmark is sponsoring the Student Summit. So could you just talk about So we have two absurd corporations, in my opinion, sponsoring a sustainability conference. Could you just talk about working with corporations when possible, but also deservedly protesting against them in the other times?
Well,
thank you.
Thank you. I have to say, I haven't worked in a major corporate. I worked at the World Bank, and I can tell you the joke about should I do my World Bank joke? Do I have time to the World? Okay, World Bank joke. So if you don't know about the World Bank is it's structural adjustment policies, poverty reduction strategy papers, a range of conditional loans, and it can get a little dull. But if you've seen the Terry Gilliam film Time Bandits, people here seen the Terry Gilliam? Lots of people who smoke drugs in the audience. That's great. You'll know that this is about disgruntled former employees of God, right? The Time Bandits is the universe was built in 6 days, so it was a rush job, and God had help, but he doesn't treat his workers well. So they run off with a map of the holes in the universe, and they use this map to steal things, and they rob Napoleon, and they steal Napoleon stuff, and they jump through a hole in the universe, and they end up in Sherwood Forest, where they are met by Robin Hood, who's played by John Cleese as an upper-class twit, and he introduces himself, hello, I'm Hood. And Hood is very excited to see all Napoleon stuff, and he says, well, this is tremendous. Thank you very much indeed. The poor will love that. Have you met the poor? They're charming people, because they don't have 2 pennies to rub together, because they're poor. And so then there's this sort of ceremony where it's like, well, bring on the poor, and the poor are brought on, and Hood is giving away a gilded mirror for you. Yes, well done, jolly good, congratulations. And diamonds for you. Yes, how long have you been poor? Jolly good, well done. And then next to Hood is this big bloke who takes whatever Hood has given and punches the poor person in the face. So that's how the World Bank works. That's the. It is. I worked on a project called Voices of the Poor, Can Anyone Hear Us? Which is very much about, have you met the poor? We had lunch with them yesterday. They think we're terrific. But it is also about, the loans and the punch in the face. But when you go to the World Bank, you will find people who are not, who are doing what they believe is best. And I had a discussion with the head of Unilever, sustainability at Unilever, who's a fantastic bloke. And what he was saying was, look, there are clearly situations in which Unilever can win and communities can win. And those win-win situations are the ones that they're celebrating. And I am pleased that there are situations in which Unilever can win and a community can win. These are important moments. It's the rest of that 4x4 diagram that worries me, right? When Unilever loses and the communities lose, nothing happens, that's great. But where it is that the community wins, but Unilever doesn't, that's not something that Unilever can touch. It's constitutionally not allowed because it must return value to its shareholders. Unilever can't do the things that hemorrhage money that would improve the lot of communities. They can't take positions on things like the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is a trade agreement that's going through, that's being negotiated mostly in secret, but which will hand great power to large corporations and allow circumventing of environmental standards, among other things. Unilever has to take a fairly aggressive kind of line of the lowest common denominator there. Similarly, Unilever has to, is going to do things that may not be of benefit to a community because it is, again, it's shareholder driven. It needs to return value to the shareholders. No CEO will be able to keep their job if they are not returning value to the shareholders, and if that means that the communities aren't doing so well, but the company does quite well, they have to do that. So I think that in those cases, the thing to do is, firstly, of course, I don't think we need to be living in a world with quite so many large corporations. I think that if we're interested in exchange, the virtues of capitalism seem to me that you are able to exchange freely and unhindered between people without coercion. And modern capitalism is the anti-market. It's the opposite of free exchange. But it also seems to me that if given that we are where we are today, we need to be changing the rules in the face of corporations. And it seems to me that so that the corporations can do the right thing. Because I know plenty of people inside corporations who want to do the right thing and are saying, regulate us, please regulate us. But they can't say that in public because their day jobs they'd be lynched at their day jobs if they said that. I think everyone can agree as citizens that what we need to do is regulate these corporations way down so that they are, once again, under the control of the people rather than vice versa. I don't know how much. I'm going to keep on one more. Oh, last one. Okay, I'm sorry.
Hi. Considering your comment on greedy economics students that will one day hold a position of power and authority, can you comment on the status of the teaching and how economic teaching is changing? from classic economics to wherever it should be to make it more sustainable?
I mean, yeah, I think it's a good question. I mean, I have been taught by some fantastic economists. In fact, Ravi Kanpur, my economics professor at Cornell, who was asked to write the World Development Report for the World Bank, resigned before I did. And I think he's up against, I think the economics profession itself is up against this sort of awkward moment where some people in the economics profession, particularly from the heterodox economics schools, are fighting the good fight and trying to come up with fantastic things like feminist economics, which, by the way, if you're interested in sustainability, has some really interesting things to say about indicators, right? And I did want to mention this. I couldn't figure out how to bring it in. I'm going to use your question to just flag an important idea in feminist economics, which is about the generation of indicators. Often when it comes to sustainability indicators, we're looking at tonnage of carbon, or we're looking at sort of cost savings. But what the feminist economics suggests is that really what you want to do is devolve the generation of these indicators to as low a level as possible. Let communities decide what the most important indicators are, and then let those metrics be the ones that move us forward. And now what you sacrifice is the idea of comparability. One community may decide, well, what's important for our environmental sustainability here is fish in the ocean. And in a desert community, that makes no sense. In a desert community, there might be, the amount of rangeland over which pastoralists are allowed to roam. These different data points matter, but they have to be local. I mean, if we're interested in sustainability and sustainability indicators, then they aren't necessarily comparable. The comparability is actually where the devil is. But I do think that the feminist economics and economists who teach those kinds of heterodox schools are fighting a pitched battle against the kinds of economists who want to serve the people who are richer than they will ever be. I mean, I'm thinking here of Jagdish Bhagwati and the kinds of craven economists who are happy to sell the poor down the road and happy to sort of contour their opinions to those of the rich and powerful. And I think that the way around this is to take your economics with a pinch of anthropology and sociology and humanities, because there's no resources within economics to be able to. But I do think heterodox. And this is again why humanities are so important. Economics without poetry turns you into a bastard. And I do think that there's room not only for heterodox economics, but I think that being able to take the step out of the domain, particularly with the arts and with humanities, is going to be a way of reminding economists that they must put their privilege to work. And this is a way maybe of getting back to the first question, which I don't feel I adequately answered. I mean, and this is something I'm wrestling with all the time, is I went through an institute of higher education, and I was incredibly privileged, and I remain incredibly privileged. What do I do with that privilege? Now, for undergraduates, burdened with debt, that may not feel like you're terribly privileged right now, but in the global scheme, you are. And one of the struggles and one of the struggles I'm wrestling with is how to make myself accountable, how to put my privilege at the service of people who will never have this kind of privilege, and how to make a world where everyone gets to be as privileged as I am. Now, that's not something you learn in economics, but that's something we should certainly learn at a conference on sustainability, is figuring out how to put our privilege at the service of those who need it most, and how they can hold us accountable so that we can actually live genuinely in sustainability. Thank you. Thanks so much. Thank you.
If you weren't inspired by that, then you need to pinch yourself because you might not be alive. Thanks, Raj. Speaking of pleasure and joy in community, we'd like to invite you next to join us in Expo Hall D, which is 2 levels down at the other end of the building, just to make sure you burn a few calories on the way. There is food and drink, and Raj will be signing books at the bookstore in the Expo Hall. So go forth and do great things, and we'll see you tomorrow.